Hi class, this is Neil, and this is the second video in today's lesson. So in the example problem from the previous video, we concluded with this idea that to calculate the union of A and B, we add the total that's in A and the total that's in B, and then we subtract from that what they have in common. We're going to bring this idea into what's called the probability addition rule. So again, what the probability addition rule states, and we'll write it in two different ways, is that the union of A and B is the same as the total elements in A plus the total elements in B minus the intersection of A and B, or what A and B have in common. That's if we're talking just about elements. If we're talking about probability, we're just going to add our probability variable, our probability symbol in front of the union and intersection part of the elements. So the way we say it is the probability of the union of A and B is equal to the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of the intersection of A and B. As a drawing, what that looks like is what we're interested in is everything that's included in element A, element B, and what they share. So let's look at that in terms of this example. So in example 2, we're told that the probability that Casey will bully Eddie is 42%. We're also told that the probability that Sophia will bully Eddie is 37%. And then we're told a third thing, that if the probability that both Casey and Sophia, So let's start again. So if the probability that both Casey and Sophia will bully Eddie is 14%, so their combined probability is that, we want to know what is the probability that Casey or Sophia will bully Eddie on a given day. So there's a lot going on in this problem in terms of bullying. Let's see if we can sort of distill it down to the most basic elements. So first of all, let's call the probability of A the same thing as the probability of Casey bullying Eddie. So I'm going to write that here. So we're going to shorten that to probability of A. And we know that that probability is 42%. And I'm going to write that as a decimal, so 0.42. Okay, so we also know that the probability that Sophia will bully Eddie, we're going to call that the probability of B. And so that's the same thing as 0.37. Okay, now then we're told a third thing. The probability that both Casey and Sophia will bully Eddie. So that's the probability of Casey and Sophia. So remember from the previous lesson, anytime we see that word and, that clues us into that we're dealing with an intersection. So A and B, and that probability is the same thing as 0.14. And what we want to know here is the probability that Casey or Sophia will be bullying Eddie. So that or clues us in so that we're looking for the union of those two. And we don't know what that is. So we have a lot of information there, but what I'm going to go back to, let me change that color. What I'm going to go back to is that probability statement that we wrote above. And we're just going to fill in what we know now. So we know here that we're looking for the probability of A or B. And we know that's equal to the probability of A, we know that's 0.42, plus the probability of B. You know what? Let's write the formula first, and then we'll go back and fill in the information. So probability of A plus probability of B minus the probability of A and B. So first of all, probability of A, we know that's 0.42. Probability of B, that is 0.37. And we're subtracting from that the probability of A and B, which is 0.14. And that's going to be equal to the probability of A or B. So then I really just turn to my calculator and I do those operations from left to right. So 0.42 plus 0.37 minus 0.14. And so the probability of both those things happening is 0.65. And that, of course, is the same thing as 65%. Now, we could also solve this problem using our diagram here. So if this is my set A, my set B, I know that the combined probability or the probability of both people being the bully, I know that is 14%, so that goes in the middle. To find the probability here, I know that's probability of Casey bullying Eddie, and that's 42%. So I would just do 0.42 minus 0.14, and that is 0.28. And now for probability of B, which is here, I know that altogether the probability of B happening is 37%, or 0.37. I'll subtract 0.14 from that, and that's 0.23. Now, if I add those three together, I'm going to end up with 0.65, and we could just test that out down here. So 0.28 plus 0.14 plus 0.23. If we add those three up, we're going to get 0.65. So either way, you see, we get the probability of A or B is 65%. Okay, so why don't we do question 1 together, and then for question 2, 3, and 4, that will be what you guys do for your own work. So for 1, it says the result of serving 40 people were put in the Venn diagram. If the union of dog lovers and cat lovers is 36, determine the values of X and Y. Okay, so I know that the total number of dog lovers and cat lovers is 36. I also know that the total people here is 40. So right off the bat, we should see that what's not included in this 36 is 4 people. Because in order to get that 40 total in the survey, I would need to add 36 and 4. Now, to find the value of this X, we need to figure out what's shared between the two. Well, I know that the total number of dog and cat lovers is 36. If I subtract from that both 12 and 16, so 36 minus 12 minus 16, I'm left with 8. Or 8 people that love both cats and dogs. So this value of x is 8. All right, so your work is going to be questions 2, 3, and 4.